Mary Kay, I was told mid-season by somebody that knew Andrew Berry. The word that I was told was Andrew Berry was exhausted from Baker Mayfield. Just the daily hand holding, the press conferences, the kind of angst ridden, media relationship. And this was from somebody who knows Andrew, really knows his temperament, had worked with him before, and just said, he this is not gonna last. That's not Andrew's type of guy. To you, let's go back to the season. Did you have some misgivings throughout the course of the later in the season, because he started pretty well? You started reporting things. You were hearing things about some anxiety, and listen, it was just tumult. I mean, basically, Baker Mayfield was turbulence. The whole flight was turbulent. When did you start having doubts he would return?
Well, I started having conversations with people, right around, it was after the Odell Beckham Jr. saga, which really rattled Baker Mayfield. We've talked about that before. That left him, just completely uneasy, uncomfortable. There were other football players on this team that, that shook them as well. I mean, it just kind of upset the whole apple cart. And there were players that, really had second thoughts about Baker at that point, because they really wondered, what's going on here if we have to watch Odell Beckham Jr. walk out the door. And that was an issue. But I think more so than anything, Baker Mayfield had problems with the way that he was being used by Kevin Stefanski. And I think that he felt like, that he wasn't being showcased, that his talents weren't being maximized. And there started to be a disconnect between those two. And again, I said this the last time we were on this podcast. I don't even know if Kevin Stefanski really was necessarily aware of it to the degree that it really was. But there started to be this disconnect between those two, and Baker became increasingly disillusioned with how things were going. And then as the season went on, you heard him give two national interviews, one to Kurt Warner, and now I'm forgetting who the other one was with. But he did say in those interviews that he had to, like mend fences inside the building and help people repair their relationships in the building. I started to hear things about him feeling like it was more of the same type of dysfunction that he had endured since 2018. He was starting to feel like, um, maybe greener pastures would be better for him. At the same time, I think and he probably saw the writing on the wall. They hadn't given him an extension offer. He was not playing well, and it just started to unravel. And as you mentioned, I do think inside the building there was a lot of thought about the maturity issue. They wanted to see some more maturity out of him as the years went by. But the way that I look at that is, when you draft Baker Mayfield, knowing what you know what you're getting. You know what
Right.
you're getting in Baker Mayfield. If you expect him to be anything other than that guy you knew what you were getting, then you're just kidding yourself.
If I said Jimmy Haslam, Kevin Stefanski, or the GM, which one do you think lost? Andrew, Kevin, or Jimmy Bynum? Which one lost their patience with Baker first?
You know, I'm going to guess out of that group that it was probably, and this is just a guess, that it was probably Jimmy, because Jimmy is very impatient. He wants success for the football team, and he, they really liked Odell Beckham Jr. too. That was another thing. The Haslams, D and Jimmy, they really liked Odell. I don't think they wanted to part ways with Odell, but it kind of had to be, because when your starting quarterback is getting thrown under the bus and then the rest of the team is going to see all that, I mean, it got to the point where he had to go. But I would have to say that Jimmy probably was maybe one of the first out of those three to jump ship for those reasons, for the negative press. I mean, you remember the game after they beat the Detroit Lions, and he just stalked off the field, angry, didn't talk to the media afterwards. All of those things started to wear thin, and then by the time you got to the week 17, and he played against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, Baker Mayfield was downright angry about the way that he perceived that Kevin Stefanski didn't protect him, did not allow him to look good, let him get sacked 9 times, 5 passes batted down. And that was the last straw for him. And he opted out of the last game himself. And after the game, he said, I'm going to talk to my agent about this and we're going to decide what we're going to do. That didn't play well with some people in the locker room. There were people that thought, no, you got to ride it out with us. Like, we're playing, you should play with